I heard this story on an autumn evening in 2019. I jotted down some initial notes, and since then, I've occasionally marked down things in my notebook. I rephrased the same sentence over and over, always worrying if I'd be making a mistake by publishing it, constantly postponing it. But I dreamed of finding the courage one day to sit down, write, and tell everyone about that eerie incident. The impression it left on me was so strong that to this day the events are almost vividly clear, without any hazy spots in my mind. I'm writing from memory and can't guarantee I won't forget some minor detail, but it won't affect the story itself. In my neighborhood, quite far from the city center, lived one of my former classmates, Harry. We hardly communicated. Twice a year, we'd wish each other a happy birthday, say hello on the street, or occasionally take the same bus. There was no real close friendship between us. But then, out of the blue, he messaged me, asking if I was home and if he could stop by. I found it a bit puzzling, even unnerving, but I didn't lie. I replied that I was home and that he could come over. I didn't have any plans for that evening anyway. The weather was horrible and nasty, with the wind making it impossible to even go for a walk. I even secretly hoped that Sergei might bring something to drink, thinking he might suddenly want to become friends. But when he arrived, he was neither alive nor dead, gaunt, frozen, and as soon as he stepped in, he said, "Alex, are you home alone? Let me in, please." He was already pushing past me, dragging the door behind him to shut it as quickly as possible. I asked him, "Is someone after you? Why are you so on edge?" But he didn't even take off his jacket as he marched to the kitchen, clumsily kicking off his boots along the way and kept saying, "Shut the door, Alex, shut it." I just stood there thinking, well, great, this just dropped on me out of nowhere. I cracked the door open a bit, listening to sounds in the stairwell, and suddenly I could hear slow, shuffling steps. Someone was coming up, taking their time, dragging their feet on each step. Then I saw a shadow on the wall. We could always see when someone was coming up from below. The light would hit the gap between the stairs and cast their silhouettes. When I saw that shadow, I felt a chill. There was no real reason for it, it just made me feel uneasy and I got goosebumps. I quickly locked up before whoever it was could come up and debated whether or not to look through the peephole. Then Harry, in a half-whisper, says to me, "Don't look. Come here, Alex, please." For extra security, I turned the metal lock so no one could break in from the outside and went over to Harry. He wouldn't speak at first, just kept muttering that he needed to stay there until morning and then leave. His words did nothing to calm me down either. I poured him some tea, offered him vodka to steady his nerves, and eventually, word by word, got him talking. I'll remind you that this story is reconstructed from memory and notes. Naturally, I'll leave out my awkward questions, the long silences, and Harry's choice swear words. You know, Alex, how much I've always loved watching horror stuff. Even back in school, I was into it. Back then, the internet was more open, and people would exchange photos and videos right in the comments. You know, like those cartel videos where people are cut up alive. Nowadays, it's mostly moved to Telegram. By 2020, there'll be more of that stuff there than anywhere else, you'll see. I also used to hang out on forums. Not even the dark web that scares kids, just open boards. There's plenty of stuff on image boards, you just have to save it before the moderators delete it. And there are special threads on regular sites, like for fishing or mushroom hunting. Most of the guys there just exchange tips about good spots, chat, but a few clever ones set up threads for like-minded sickos, and they drop links in the chat. Registering on a forum takes about 3 minutes with a fake email. Then you sit and sift through content from their own libraries. I've seen all sorts of things there. But I never posted anything, Alex. That's one thing I can say. I kept my hands clean. Information security, you know. As a kid, I was afraid they'd trace me through my IP and find me. I never got over that fear. It became a rule for me. Watch, but don't touch. 6 months ago, I discovered some foreign sites. They were really dark. It was interesting to read with page translation. I even took a break from the gore and torture videos for a while and got into mystical stuff. Then, totally by accident, I stumbled upon posts, where someone posts a photo of something strange and asks what to do with it. And that's when it all started. Alex, my hands are still shaking. Some of those photos almost made me throw up right at the computer. One guy, some American, posted a picture of his 3-legged dog, saying she didn't have much time left, asking people what he should do with her. You know how these threads look, right? No? Well, everyone has their own number. If the last 2 or 3 digits are the same, it makes the author look cool. I don't know how else to explain it so you won't think I'm crazy. It's hard to explain this culture when you don't even have an idea of it. No offense, I don't mean it badly. Anyway, all these honored anons with cool numbers were deciding what to do. So yeah, you can post whatever, but if you don't get the right number, you're out of luck. It's all random, you can't control it. And the first double hit. 2 matching digits at the end meant a request was made. It's all like that, just a nightmare. I didn't even finish reading. I started feeling nauseous, like I said. And that was just the tip of the iceberg, Alex. Not even the worst stuff. An animal's an animal. They can't do much to you for that. But imagine this. People were hurting their disabled relatives and even mutilating themselves. I always thought I had a strong stomach for this stuff. After all, I'd been watching this kind of gore since I was a kid, but this was too much. It's one thing when criminals execute people, and another when ordinary people kill each other, even their own family. For a while, it all quieted down. Moderation got stricter, and threads would stay up for only half a day before being taken down. But it didn't last. Mostly Alex, people were just trolling, making provocative polls or asking what to do, like with a newborn, and then claiming they did it, but no photos. But sometimes real things would come up, and one of those threads ended up breaking me completely. Last month, I found a post. The guy signed as dry and in Russian too. I hadn't seen anyone like that on the site before. Maybe they were hiding or writing in English like I did, or maybe they were just reading. I ran the text through a translator, an ancient one that translates word by word. In the thread, everyone was mocking him, saying he was acting crazy for attention, holding back evidence. The first photo was of some apartment. Not American, I'll tell you that. It looked like the typical apartment of someone's recently deceased grandfather. Wooden floorboards painted but cracked. The carpet pulled up with a yellow stain showing where something had spilled long ago. In the background was a lacquered cabinet, like the kind my grandma called a wall unit. Beside it, a sagging cream-colored couch with gold patterns. You've probably seen one like it at a relative's place. The lighting was dim, unpleasant to the eyes, like they'd cranked up the contrast. And in the middle of the photo, in front of the lifted carpet, was a bag. I don't know what size, just an ordinary black garbage bag, non-transparent, but stuffed tight with something soft. Nothing was sticking out, no corners poking, tied up. The caption was awkwardly phrased, an English verb in the wrong form. Translated to Russian, it'd be like, "Today I bring home new presents." Everyone laughed it off and moved on. For a couple of days, there were no new posts. But that photo kept bothering me. I wish I'd thought to save it. I ended up looking like an idiot with this whole thing. Used to download every piece of trash, and now I let it slip away. I check those threads now and then, every few hours, to see if anything new came up. And then, 2 days later, there was a new photo. The same bag, only now untied, sitting on a wooden table. Familiar sights, a kitchen nook with soft padding on the seat and back, tiles on the wall, a red bread box with a transparent door that slides up and down. And can you believe it, Alex? I was admiring this and didn't even notice at first what was inside the bag. And there it was, hair. I swear to you, it wasn't animal hair, it was human. Just a pile of it, all intertwined in different shades, some strands even glinting from the flash. I felt sick, Alex. Just from the image, like a punch to the chest. My heart ached, my eyes welled up. This was something sick. A whole bag of human hair. It's beyond words. I didn't go on that site the rest of that evening. Slept restlessly, tormented, when some thought keeps bothering you. That's how it felt, only there was no actual thought, just a feeling, a tightness in my chest, but I couldn't figure out why I was nervous. In the morning, I went back, scrolled through the Anon's responses, and found a fresh post. The caption read, "How much hair needed for making hat?" with a picture of that same hair, now outside the bag, spread out on the table. And Alex, it wasn't just hair, it was scalp too. At first, I didn't realize what I was seeing. Thought it was just some rag or torn fabric. You never know how they display the hair. But this was skin, Alex. They'd washed off the blood completely, but it was unmistakable. If you looked closely, you could see it all. He had cut it off, you understand? Didn't get it from mannequins or steel wigs, he'd sliced it off. Replies started pouring in. A few concerned Anons asked where he'd gotten it, while the rest kept joking. I felt so disgusted. I mean, I'd always liked writing stupid stuff myself, but now I suddenly felt moral disgust. No, Alex, think about it. This isn't just torturing one animal, not even self-harm. It's multiple people. And fear overtook me, Alex. It consumed me entirely. I thought I was losing my mind. Like there's no way someone could see something like that with their own eyes, Liv. In real time. Tried to distract myself, went for a walk, tried to clear my head, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. Nothing else would come to mind. I just kept pacing around like I was hypnotized. You'd think I'd have seen enough horrors over the years, the kinds of nightmares people are capable of. But just those two photos hit me so hard, like they held some kind of power that drained you. I should have posted right then in that thread, asked the other users if anyone else was feeling the same, but I was trembling too hard even to type. As soon as I got home, I sat down at the computer, opened the forum, scrolled to the thread, and saw a new post from Sukhoi. It was a photo of a small Ziploc bag on a table filled with what looked like trimmed nails. I don't know how many, 100, maybe 2, maybe more. The bag was practically bursting. The caption read, "How many does it take to digest nails?" The replies? The stuff people wrote was insane. Eat them. Grind them up and roll them into a cigarette. Try burning them on a spoon, then add it to food. I was shaking with anger, Alex. That shouldn't be allowed. People reacting so casually to this stuff, not realizing what's really going on. But where did he get all those nails? I couldn't sleep half the night, just sat there, drinking coffee, listening to music, trying to drown out my thoughts. Nothing helped. I felt pulled back to the forum. At 4 a.m., I checked if there was anything new and nearly crapped myself in the kitchen. The photo hadn't loaded yet, but the caption was there. "Oh, Alex, it's hard to breathe." And below that in Russian, for my friend Seryozha. My phone was glitching out. I refreshed the page 3 times, but nothing worked. I practically crawled back to my room, and outside it was the middle of the night. Rain pounding, the wind howling like something out of a nightmare, Alex. Just relentless. I sat down in my chair, opened the forum, hands shaking, legs too, chest burning, couldn't breathe. Thought, this is it. I'm about to die right here. The photo finally loaded and my teeth were chattering, jaw twitching. I'd never experienced anything like it. And there it was, The same dimly lit room. The same rolled-up rug, wooden floor, and crooked couch, but taken from a slightly different angle, like a bit to the left. In the center lay a huge black bag, massive, Alex, like the kind used for bodies. While I was staring at it, I noticed a flash reflection in the right corner of a mirror. Yeah, you guessed it, and he didn't even flinch. But there I was, Alex, screaming, eyes shut, yelling like an idiot. I look at that mirror, and it hits me. This maniac, Sukhoi, accidentally or on purpose, captured himself. Who knows which? No visible eyes, everything black like tar, his skull pale, wrinkled, elongated with this hooked long nose that seems to pull towards a sharp chin, and below, a thick, sinewy neck. I don't know how to say it, but it didn't look human, you know? It's just not something a person has. And that caption, "For my friend Seryoja." Think about it. I never even replied in the thread, just sat there reading, didn't even save the photos. But somehow he'd still managed to find me. Is that even possible? For about 3 minutes, I sat there like I'd been struck, staring at that photo, and then suddenly everything vanished. I refreshed, and the thread was gone. The mods must have nuked it. Not surprising, that kind of freak show had been up for days, way overdue for a cleanup. Probably got a pile of complaints, and that, Alex, is how he got to me. But that was only the beginning. I lived for a week in terror, couldn't sleep, kept every light on, even went clubbing just to avoid staying home alone at night. Nothing helped. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face in the mirror. Hair, scalp, nails. Then last Saturday, it happened again. Middle of the night, of course. I was just about to sleep when my phone vibrated. I look, a message on Telegram. I open it, biting my lip till it bled from fear. It was a stranger who sent me the photo. It's this dark basement lit only by the flash. You can't see the floor, and the walls aren't clear either. You can't make out the size of the space. Thick chains hang from the ceiling with hooks attached to them. And Alex, on those hooks hang bodies. Oh my God, I swear to you, pale, some with bluish spots, some with bed sores, strung up like slabs of meat. Some are missing hands, just stitched up stumps. Others have no legs, and a few their heads are gone altogether. Even an idiot could tell by now that this dry one from the forum is a real psychopath. The hair and the baggie of nails were already screaming that much, but now it's like he put a huge final exclamation mark on it, erasing any doubts. I barely lifted my finger to save the image when it disappeared. Then another photo popped up, and I managed to catch that one. Look here, it's an empty hook, Alex. And you know what he wrote right after? "This is for you, Sergey." I didn't even get a chance to screenshot it. I just sat there frozen, and then he deleted it again. And that was it. He disappeared for a day. It just says he was online recently, but his number's hidden, and he changed his username. Can you guess? Right. DRY in all caps with spaces between the letters. And what was I supposed to do? Run to the police? With what? A single photo of an empty hook? There's no thread left on the forum, no photos of those bodies, nothing. I told some guys in a chat about it, but they seemed skeptical, even though I swore I wasn't lying. And then the next night, I woke up to my phone ringing. Half asleep, I didn't realize it was a call on Telegram, not a regular one. I hit the green button, and suddenly those letters pop up on the screen. Diachaki uya iya. I was so scared I dropped my phone on the couch. I still shake when I imagine what could have happened if I'd answered. When I finally came to my senses, I picked up the phone, opened the chat, and there were several messages from this creep. Shouldn't have looked at the forum. Answer me, Sergey. Answer me. Just as I finished reading, the messages disappeared. But then at the top, it lit up in blue. Dry as typing. I tensed up, teeth clenched, sitting there drenched in sweat, too scared to even move. And then, out of nowhere, like a sledgehammer to the head, came the message. "I'm coming over, Sergey." And the bastard left it there all night. I have a screenshot. Look, can you imagine what I felt right then? I was so freaked out I pushed my dresser in front of the apartment door, practically dragging it out of my room. Probably woke up half the neighbors, closed the windows, sat down at my computer, and started typing in every chat I could find looking for some support, but no one cared. By morning, I finally calmed down a bit and lay down to try to sleep. My head was throbbing and my eyes were stinging. I started slipping into sleep fast when suddenly there was a knock at the door. Just one knock, but long, drawn out, relentless. I jumped up, knees hugged to my chest, straining to listen. I couldn't even bring myself to get out of bed. Put yourself in my shoes, would you have opened the door and gone after him? Maybe it wasn't even him at the door. At that point, I didn't know what to believe. And today, I thought of you, Alex. I happened to be passing by your place on my way back from the bus stop, looked at the windows and thought, this is where Alex lives. It felt like a sign from above. It was already evening when I got those messages. I didn't want to open them. My heart was racing. But now, I'm just grateful I gave in and checked. Turns out it was a series of photos, Alex. My building, my entryway, my apartment door. And in the last one, you can see a shadow. The photographer's shadow. I've memorized that thick neck and that elongated skull from all my nightmares. Standing there on the street, one bag in one hand, phone in the other, I froze. I was only 50 meters from my building when another photo came in, Alex, and I saved that one. Look, here I am in it, you see? Standing right in the middle of the street, staring at my screen, and see those familiar curtains? The thermometer with the bee? Recognize the scene? It's taken from inside my apartment. He'd been in my house, Alex. My vision went blurry, my bag slipped out of my hand, and I nearly collapsed right there. Looking from the photo to my window and back, I couldn't believe it. And the wind too. Everything was howling. Dogs barking like in some horror movie. Things like this don't happen in real life, Alex. This is fiction, right? But then how do I explain these photos? I didn't come here just for kicks. I turned around and bolted away from home. That's when I thought of you. Thank God you answered. If not, I would have ended up trekking to the city on foot. No way a bus was coming at that hour. We ended up talking until dawn. We drained every bottle I had, and neither of us closed our eyes until the sun came up. Sergey refused to stay and sleep, thanking me, tears in his eyes, before slipping on his shoes and leaving. I didn't tell him about that shadow or the footsteps in the hallway. I guess I just didn't want to believe it could actually be that mysterious dry. As soon as Sergey left, I sat down to jot everything down. Still not fully sober, just sketching out what I'd heard. Once I got some sleep, I typed it all up and promised myself that one day I'd turn it into a story. And now, 5 years later, I can't hold back tears as I finish writing. I betrayed Sergey too, exploiting his story for my own work. We haven't seen or spoken to each other since then. Family matters forced me to move to the other side of the city, and I had to sell the old apartment quickly. Sergey hasn't logged into WhatsApp since that autumn. Our mutual friend doesn't know anything about him. His friend list is hidden, and I can't reach out to his relatives. Think what you will of me or him. I saw the photos and a man who'd been hollowed out by terror sitting in my kitchen. I don't need any more proof. All I can advise is this: don't look too long at strange photos. You never know who it might anger.